Carlos wasn't woke on the air, but he was a black man launching a media company that was supposed to be more centrist in its approach. And he's seeking out for money in 2020, June of 2020 and so on, when it was post George Floyd. I mean, people were dying to give Carlos money. So in any event, you had at the trial people like Alex Piper of YouTube testify. The head of Google, Sundar Pichai, can't remember. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I've only ever seen his last name written. They testified for the government, saying they never had deals with Ozzy, with whom, Carlos was claiming he did have deals. And they never considered buying Ozzy at any price, contrary to Watson's claims to investors. He had said, like, Google had considered buying and so on. So prosecutors said that Watson had also assured investors that Ozzy was thriving, even as its cash reserves sank to $19,000 at one point, and it was struggling to pay rent, wages, and other basic expenses. But they still wanted to line their own pockets. All right, so all of this goes down. Carlos gets convicted, and now he was facing prison time, my friends, prison time of the minimum was 2 years and the maximum was 29. 29. He wanted the minimum, of course, and the government wanted something like 19 years, I think. And the sentencing just happened. Just prior to the sentencing, which was it, what was the actual date of the sentencing? I'm trying to find out. But it was very recent. Just prior to the sentencing, guess who reached out? It was just this past Monday. Guess who reached out to the MK show? Carlos Watson, through his PR person. Yeah. By the way, Sumir or whatever, and another person at Ozzy, they're also facing charges, and they testified against Carlos at trial, and we'll see how things go out. They'll probably do better than he's doing because they struck a deal. Anyway, Carlos said he wanted to come on the show in advance of his sentencing, which we found very interesting. I mean, I couldn't believe my ears. I was like, is he really going to come on here? I mean, he knows I'm a lawyer. He knows I'm not going to give him a pass. We've covered this before since he's gotten in trouble. And we prepared. We got ready. We had, all the research pulled and so on and so forth. And the day of the interview, they canceled, to the surprise of no one on our team. And then, like a day or two later, he did pop up on a podcast, one you've never heard of, called Way Up with Angela Yee. And I will give you a feel for how that went. Okay, hold on. I can't see. I'm looking at my SOT list, but what I want here is the soundbite in which he talks about being a black man and what's happening to him.
You and I both know, Angela, that if I were white and I was running a media company that was healthy and hired people, and someone in Brooklyn tried to prosecute me, it's like you getting prosecuted, Angela, by Utah. I don't live in Brooklyn. I never had an office there. I never had clients there. I didn't have nothing to do with that, except Ben Smith, the white guy who wanted to buy me, and his dad, who is a judge. Did I tell you that Ben Smith's dad is a judge? You think all this is accidental? What I'm saying to people is, if we allow them to keep snuffing out black excellence, I promise you it won't stop with me.
Oh my God. He's trying to claim they're after him because he's black. This is a desperate man. That nonsense about Ben Smith, he's got a bee in his bonnet about Ben Smith, who did this reporting for the Times, was at BuzzFeed, then went to the Times, and now has launched Semaphore, trying to claim that somehow he had a personal beef against Carlos because, like, at one point BuzzFeed tried to buy Carlos and he wouldn't sell. Meanwhile, Ben Smith had been on my show and we interviewed Ben about this. And here's what he said, just for the record on it, SOT 62.
It would not be true that I had offered him money, and it's not. He hasn't denied any of the things we reported, and I think it's not really all that relevant to the story. I wasn't. Okay. I was not privy to a deal that he was talking about with BuzzFeed around the time I was leaving.
You weren't involved in that at all?
I sent a 2-sentence email introducing him to my boss on my boss's request. That was my involvement.
And that was it. So Ben Smith, Ben Smith has nothing to do with this. I don't know why he decided to blame Ben Smith. And Ben Smith's dad is a judge on New York State's highest court. This is a federal trial. And Ben Smith's dad had absolutely nothing to do with it. I do not know how he took this turn. But you heard in that soundbite, if I were white and running a media company that was healthy and hired people, and someone in Brooklyn tried to prosecute me, and then he takes a dodge, it's like you, Angela, you're in Brooklyn and somebody tries to prosecute you in some other jurisdiction like Utah. I don't live in Brooklyn. I never had an office there. I didn't have nothing to do with that except Ben Smith. Why is he? Can we just run it again? Can you run that soundbite again?
You and I both know, Angela, that if I were white and I was running a media company that was healthy and hired people, and someone in Brooklyn tried to prosecute me, it's like you getting prosecuted, Angela, by Utah. I don't live in Brooklyn. I never had an office there. I never had clients there. I didn't have nothing to do with that except Ben Smith, the white guy who wanted to buy me, and his dad, who is a judge. Did I tell you that Ben Smith's dad is a judge? You think all this is accidental? What I'm saying to people is, if we allow them to keep snuffing out Black excellence, I promise you it won't stop with me.
All right. So just first of all, I didn't have nothing to do with that. Okay. Because he's going on a show hosted by a Black woman playing the race card. This Harvard and Stanford law graduate is now, I had nothing to do with that. Okay, Carlos, who do you think you're fooling? The New York Times would be saying, oh, he's just code switching like Kamala. We're going to win. I'm going to win. Okay, we hear you talk every day. We know you don't talk like that. Stop it. Ridiculous. But he gets in front of a presumably mostly Black audience and he tries to play the race card and sound like that. Okay, sure. If we keep allowing them to snuff out Black excellence, I promise you it won't stop with me. What part was the Black excellence? Was it the way Samir impersonated Alex Piper with voice alteration technology? Is that, because I think that might be Indian excellence. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into Sumir, but it sounds like an Indian name. I'm not sure. I know you were pulling was the Black excellence you, Cyrano de Bergerac-ing it from your phone, texting Sumir while he did it? Is that what you mean by Black excellence? Because that's the kind of thing we actually do want to snuff out. Not so much your straight news interviews, which had you just tried harder, Carlos, might have eventually turned into something. But you decided to shortchange it. You decided to cheat your way to the top rather than doing the long, hard slog that all of us in this lane have to do. And let me tell you, I know of what I speak. Year one on this show, when I went on the Carlos Watson show, when I had Carlos on this show, it was just like that. It was hard. It was hard. You check the downloads. It builds in inches, not miles. It's not like one day you tune in and you've got millions of subscribers. Not at all. It takes years and it takes a lot of elbow grease and it takes a lot of patience. And I've told you before, what I kept saying to my team all throughout that lean period was just keep rowing. Just keep rowing. And then eventually, hopefully, if you have a good product, you hit smooth sailing, right? And things start coming your way and you catch a great gust of wind. Carlos Watson was full of wind and decided to shortchange everything and behave in a criminally fraudulent manner. And it had nothing to do with snuffing out Black excellence that he got criminally charged for his crimes. Nothing whatsoever. By the way, there was a Black prosecutor, you heard, announcing his conviction. As I said, really, really focused on his color now. So at sentencing, he did the same thing. When he got up in front of the judge, this was once again a big thing that he tried to play about the race card. He told the judge that he was a target of selective prosecution as a Black entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, where African-American executives have been disproportionately few, and he called the case, quote, a modern lynching. A modern lynching. I made mistakes. I'm very, very sorry that people are hurt, myself included, like a true narcissist. Back to me, I'm sad, but I don't think it's fair. So he was sentenced on just this past, last Monday, December 16th, by United States District Judge Eric Comity. And he was sentenced to 116 months in prison, almost 10 years. He was sentenced to almost 10 years in prison, 9 years and 8 months. Holy shit. I'm sorry, I just can't believe that guy with the YouTube and Samir and Abby and Ozzy Fest and all, he's going to jail. Well, sentenced for 9+. He's probably going to serve around 6, to be perfectly honest, with good behavior and all that. And he's crying boo effing who with now in the media and elsewhere, trying to get people to feel sorry for him. After he did all this stuff, he wasn't some passive victim of Samir. The prosecution proved at trial that he was in on all of it. And of course he would be. Look at that email with the CFO. He's on there. You can't claim plausible deniability. The judge actually said that the quantum of dishonesty in this case is exceptional. It's exceptional. And here's more, okay? Before you start to feel sorry for Carlos, which I assume you're not, but he got basically the same time, just a little less than Elizabeth Holmes. And the judge understood that comparison and was just fine with it. This is what the prosecution said in their sentencing memo seeking a stiff penalty. This case is unusual for the audacity, the pervasiveness, and the length of Watson's fraud, as well as for his obstruction, perjury, repeated attacks on the justice system, and complete rejection of any responsibility. The memo was particularly harsh toward Watson's character. Quote, "The history and characteristics of the defendant also weigh in favor of a serious sentence. He is dishonest. The ease with which he lied to victims again and again, and the ease with which he lied on the stand is frankly unsettling." For those of us who have been holding our breath for the past several months, we can finally exhale in the wake of this presidential election, right? Work can finally be done on the major issues that this country's facing, and one of the most significant is our national debt. Look, the fact is our nation's broke, and that debt is a house of cards that cannot be quickly dismantled by anyone. So the strategy remains the same when it comes to your investments. You might want to diversify your savings. Virtually all the experts say that's a good idea. This is why I want to tell you about Birch Gold. So many things are out of our control and out of our president's control that it really can be important to have a safe haven for your savings. Birch Gold Group can help you if you would like to convert all or part of an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold, which is like a hedging of the bets. And the best news is it does not cost you 1 cent out of pocket. You just text MK to 989898 and you get your free info kit. And plus right now you will receive a free 1 ounce Silver Eagle for every $5,000 purchased Silver Eagle coin. Protect your savings with Birch Gold. Text MK to 989898 and claim your eligibility for free silver today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.